It's time for the podcast. Yeah, the podcast is starting.
What's a podcast?
It's all gonna be alright in the end. It's gonna be alright. And if you've got some worries, my dear little friends, please rest your busy minds, because it's finally time for stories from now and then.
Hey kids, welcome back to Stories from Now and Then. It's your very own Captain Blunderface, and I'm here in the old library for their big book giveaway. So there are so many bins and boxes of books that anyone can take home so that the library can have shelf space for new books. In my left hand, I have a really tall pile of fiction books. Those are stories that are not real. And in my right hand, I have an even taller pile of non-fiction books. Those are stories that are real. But now all I need is a box to put these in. Hey Deprecatus, what did you find? Can you show it to me? Okay, add it to the pile. Let's see what it's called. 100 Ways to Pamper Your Pet by Clive R.R. Snookums. Deppy, you're like the most pampered cat. You get to listen to cool stories and smell old books, bro. Yes, as long as you let me clip your nails without scratching, we can read the first 25 ways. Before we jump aboard part 2 of the story of Odysseus, we have a shout out for 3 very special siblings who listen to the show. Beatrice, Henry, and Louise from Essex, Ontario. Thanks for listening, and this episode is dedicated to you. And with that, we'll pass it off to Nicola for part 2 of this incredible saga. Please take it away.
Okay, back we go. Back to the ocean, back to ancient Greece, back to Odysseus and his men. We left them escaping on their boats, running away from that mean giant Polyphemus, the one who only had one eye. They were so scared of that giant, and then they were so relieved when they got back on the boat, laughing and pointing back at him because he was stuck on the shore with no boat. Remember how Odysseus pretended that his name was Nobody? That was a smart move. Well, as they were leaving, Odysseus couldn't help himself. He was a very proud king. He shouted back to the shore, "Hey, Polyphemus! If anyone asks who poked your eye, tell them it wasn't Nobody after all. It was Odysseus, king of Ithaca." This was a very big mistake. You see, Polyphemus was the son of Poseidon, the god of the sea. He yelled out to his father, the sea god, "Oh, father, make it so Odysseus never gets home. But if he must get home, make it take a long time and let him lose all his friends." And Poseidon, who was a very moody god with a very long trident, said, "Consider it done." And Poseidon waited under the ocean in a very bad mood, waiting for the moment to take revenge on Odysseus. The next island they came to was a floating island made of solid bronze. This island was the home of Aeolus, the king of the winds. He liked Odysseus because Odysseus told him such wonderful stories all about the war. When it came time for them to leave, Aeolus gave Odysseus a very special gift. It was a bag made of ox hide, that's like cow skin, tied with a shiny silver string. "Inside this bag," said Aeolus, "I have tucked away all the storm winds. I have left out only the west wind to blow you gently home to Ithaca. Whatever you do, do not open the bag." Odysseus didn't tell his men what was in the bag. Instead, he held the bag close to his chest and stayed awake for 9 days and 9 nights, holding the rudder to steer the ship and watching the sea. They got so close to Ithaca that they could see the people on the beach lighting fires to cook their dinner. But Odysseus was very tired. His eyelids felt as heavy as lead boots, and he soon fell fast asleep. His sailors looked at the bag. "Look at that," said one. "Odysseus is keeping all the treasure for himself. I bet that bag is full of gold and silver." "Well, let's just have a little peek," said another. They untied the silver string. Whoosh! It wasn't gold. It was the north wind and the south wind and the east wind, all coming out at once. The winds grabbed the ships and blew them all the way back to the Bronze Island. Odysseus went back to King Aeolus and asked for help again. But Aeolus said, "No, I cannot help you again. If you are that unlucky, the gods of Olympus must really dislike you, and I don't want to get involved." So the sailors had to row. They rowed and they rowed and they rowed, and their arms ached and their backs creaked, and Odysseus rolled his eyes at them for opening his bag, and they were very cross with themselves for being so greedy, and grumbled as they rowed. After a very long time, and a few more adventures in between, they sailed and sailed when there was wind, and they rowed and rowed when there was no wind, and they rowed and sailed until they breathed in a new, sweet smell all around them, like a meadow full of flowers. Odysseus said to his men, "We are coming to the sirens. They have voices that sound beautiful, but they are actually very dangerous. They want you to steer the boat toward the rocks until it smashes to pieces." So Odysseus told his men to take some beeswax and mush it in their fingers until it was as soft as putty. Then they stuffed the wax into their ears until they couldn't hear a single thing. But Odysseus wanted to hear the song. He was as curious as a magpie in a jewelry shop. He told his men to tie him to the big wooden mast in the middle of the ship. He made them pull the ropes so tight that he couldn't move a muscle. "No matter how much I beg," he warned them, "you must not untie me. In fact, if I start shouting, you must tie me tighter." As they sailed past, the sirens began to sing. Their song was so beautiful, it made Odysseus feel like his heart was being pulled by runaway horses. He screamed and yelled and wiggled and wriggled, and he made faces at all of his men, but the sailors just rowed and rowed. They couldn't hear a note, and they didn't look back until the singing was as faint as a memory of a dream. Somehow, Odysseus got away with hearing the beautiful music and living to tell the tale, something no other person had ever done. Odysseus and his men seemed to keep getting into trouble and having adventures they didn't want, one after another, and finally, after a few more adventures, they reached a place called the Island of the Sun. It was a lovely place, full of green grass and sunshine. In the meadows were the sun god's cows. These were very special cows. They were white as fresh snow and had horns that shone like polished brass. "Don't touch them," said Odysseus. "Don't even look at them with a hungry eye. If we eat these cows, we are as good as sunk." But angry Poseidon finally rose from the depths of the sea and made the winds blow from the wrong direction, and the men were stuck on the island for a month. Their tummies began to rumble. They were getting so hungry. One day, when Odysseus went away to the woods just to have a little nap, his men looked at the cows. "It's better to die with a full stomach than starve to death on a beautiful beach," said one sailor. So they caught the cows, and they had a great big barbecue. When Odysseus woke up and smelled the roasting meat, he put his head in his hands. He knew the trouble was coming, and he was right. The sun god went straight to Zeus, the king of the gods. "They ate my favourite cows," he cried. "If you don't punish them, I shall go and shine in the land of the dead and then leave the whole world in the dark." So, when Odysseus' ship finally sailed away, Zeus threw a lightning bolt at it. It was a very large, very hot lightning bolt. The ship broke into 1,000 splinters. All the men fell into the dark sea and had to swim to different islands, except for Odysseus, who managed to grab a piece of the mast and a bit of rope. He made a makeshift raft to stay afloat, and he drifted for 9 days, as lonely as a piece of driftwood, with nothing left except the hope that Penelope, his queen, was still waiting for him to come back. Odysseus held onto his raft in a daze, wondering what would happen to him next, and if he would ever make it home. Poor Odysseus, all alone in the middle of the ocean. I don't know if you've ever been far away from home, but it's a lot nicer when you've got friends or family with you. Odysseus must have been very lonely. But he is a clever man, and his story is not over yet. Do you think he's going to make it home? We will find out in the next part.
Thank you, Nicola, once again. Wow, that ending is a real cliffhanger. In the literal sense, it's more of a raft hanger because Odysseus is hanging onto a makeshift raft. But you know what I mean. The book giveaway at the old library is all done, and they gave away 536 books, which is great because Deprecatus has a bunch of new hiding spots until the new books come in. As for Odysseus, I can't wait to hear what happens next in part 3. What do you think, though? Hey, if you make up the next part for Odysseus, feel free to send it to us on Instagram, @StoriesFromNowAndThen. We might even read it in a future episode. Stories from Now and Then is narrated by Nicola Ward, music by Captain Blunderface played by Evan Wiebe, and we will see you all next time on
Stories from now and then.